Welcome to Drug Use, Physical and Psychological Effects. This is an overview of the class. What should you learn in this class? By the end of the class, you should have learned how to comprehend and analyze the physiological and psychological aspects, impacts, and processes of a range of substance use disorders. What will you do in each unit? Each week we will cover a different unit and you will do the following things. Read the introduction to the unit in Canvas. Read the corresponding chapter or chapters in the textbook. Watch one or more videos which cover the unit. Post a response to the discussion question and comment on other students' responses. At the end of the unit, you will take a brief unit quiz. In Unit 1, you'll learn what is a drug and how drugs are classified. In Unit 2, we'll talk about drug use yesterday and today, the history of drug use from the earliest times, and how it is interwoven with American history. Unit 3 will be drugs in the nervous system. Drugs affect the brain and the nervous system in some very special ways. Unit 4, Pharmacology. We'll talk about pharmacokinetics, how drugs move around, and pharmacodynamics, how they do what they do when they get to where they're going. Unit 5, Psychopharmacology and New Drug Development. We'll define addiction. We'll talk about how user characteristics impact the drug-using experience, and how are new pharmaceutical medications discovered and brought to the market. In Unit 6, we'll talk about some heavy-duty stimulants, cocaine, amphetamines, methamphetamines, and related compounds called bath salts. Unit 7, nicotine, which comes from tobacco. We'll talk about, is nicotine a stimulant or depressant, and why is nicotine treated differently than other drugs? Unit 8, caffeine, a widely consumed drug. When is it good and when is it bad? Unit 10, opiates, their history and their future. In Unit 11, we will cover marijuana. We'll talk about the history of marijuana and the pros and cons of marijuana use. Unit 12 is hallucinogens. Expanded consciousness, or are they a dangerous experience? Unit 13, psychotherapeutic medications, covers both the medications used to treat mental illness and the subject of co-occurring disorders, when someone has both a substance use disorder and a mental illness. Unit 14, other prescription and over-the-counter drugs. How safe are these drugs? Unit 15 will do an introduction to the treatment of substance use disorders. How does drug and alcohol treatment work, and is it effective? Unit 16, prevention of substance abuse. How do we prevent substance abuse, and particularly, how do we prevent it among very young children? Next, let's look at a unit, Unit 6, in more detail. This happens week 7. We're covering Chapter 6, Stimulant Drugs. There's a welcome to the unit for you to read a brief overview. Then the Chapter 6 Stimulants video. In some chapters, there'll be a series of shorter videos. Next, Chapter 6, the Stimulants PowerPoint. This is a briefer presentation, which is useful to review for quizzes and texts. Next, the Chapter 6 discussion question, which is worth 5 points and due September 27th. And lastly, the Chapter 6 stimulant quiz. Every unit will end with a quiz. This one is also due September 27th and 5 points. Notice that each week begins on a Monday and all of the assignments are due on that Sunday.